50 right now, and many more I've registered or we're planning to attend.
You know, I think something I would love to know in the chat is, where are you logging in from? I'm gonna say for myself, I'm Brazilian, Italian. I am in New York City, and I've been here for many years, 26 years in New York City.
Well, I'm Linda and I are from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, near Toronto, not too far from Buffalo, for those who know Buffalo or Toronto.
Wow, many people from many places.
Yeah.
Louisville, Rock, Arkansas, Long Island, North California, New Brunswick, Canada, Denver, St. Catharines, Ontario, Bozeman, Montana, Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, California, Idaho, Waynesville, Toronto, Forestville, Texas. Oh, it's so great. Oregon.
Okay, in order to respect those that are here on time.
Yeah, we're ready to start.
We need to start, all right? So a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, welcome. My name is Roland Thomas, and I'm a naturopath, which means the path of nature, not a medical pharmaceutical dispenser. I work more with natural solution. And Adrienne Angotti is my principal wonderful guest. She's the CEO of iConscious, which is a very subliminal name. And I'll introduce her furthermore. Right now, one thing that we already said is that Linda is going to manage the chat. The chats will be responded by Linda. There might be too many chats for her to manage, but we will save the chat session. And anyone that wants a response, give us your email in the chat, and we'll attend to this as much as possible. Q&A will be only available besides from the chat, but we will only attend to the questions at the end of the talk, and briefly, because this could go on for hours and hours, because it's a topic that is so broad and so different than, it's not like a specific zoom in topic. There's too many flexibility in questions and answers as well. We want to stick to an hour. That's our target. We can go a little bit over if needed, but hopefully that will work. Let me start with why. I'll remove the chart, by the way.
Oh, yes.
I can do that. I will stop sharing for now, and I'll come back. So whose principal video is on right now? Right now, I see Adri.
Yes.
What do you see, Adri? Yourself?
Perfect. I think both of us are on the screen, no?
Yeah, I see that at the top, and then I see you in the principal view. So that's my setup.
I'm curious because you have the halo around your picture. I wonder if both of us can be seen. Can both of us can be seen from the participants?
That's what I'm trying to do right now.
You both. Okay,
there
perfect.
we go. All right.
Awesome.
Hello. So this conversation, the word that we invited you with was what's wrong with the little memory loss. It was really a topic that is much broader than that we will be addressing tonight. But we're very happy that many of you are here with us. It's an extremely important topic currently in the world, really, and certainly in my industry. It's a topic that I've never dared talk about before. It just wasn't something that that I thought I would ever talk about. I did say in my invitation that it was sort of a taboo topic in my family, certainly, and with many of our clients. Yes, we would talk in private about memory loss or maybe depression and so forth. But I never dared bring it up as a webinar or meeting, or even in the hundreds of conferences that I've talk about it. I thought it was a minor aspect of health. It's a later aspect of health and life, and I thought also that I was busy enough with the physical aspect, the physical benefits of my practice of the scientist Dr. Michael Kiriak's formula, which name will come a little bit during the talk. For those that are new, I know that about 2/3 of the participants already know me, BioAge, and the Bio Superfood, and Dr. Kiriak research and story. For the newbies, please stick around, be welcome. You will be amazed at the potential. We will be talking more about sharing personal experience, and we come from that place. Adri and I, the reason that I'm talking about it is, first of all, Adri shared some of her story with me over the years, along with, I've also had conversation with several clients over the years, and my personal story about this topic will come up a little later, was a trigger for me to open my ears, and it was so heartwarming to talk about it with her. And the other reason that I'm now able and willing to talk about it is I'll blame the pandemic. During the pandemic, the concept or not the concept, the increase of depression was talked on television. It's a fact. There's an enormous amount of anger, fear, depression, and plus the lingering effect of on the mental and physical of the virus itself, if you've been impacted, or of many family breakdown because of vaccine or not. Maybe the lingering effects of the vaccine itself. Those are also factors that may lead to low-grade depression, to starting a depression, which is not always easy to come out of as when we are younger. So those were the trigger, along with the fact that over the decades in this business, really since 1970, I've followed the trend of diseases in America, of killer disease in America. And just a few years back, Alzheimer, for the first time ever, surpassed diabetes, became the number five killer disease in America, when before that it was diabetes. So Alzheimer is on the increase, rapidly increasing. I will bring up a few statistics later on to speak about that, but let me just say also that currently, based on a very recent statistic, depression is the #1 cause of disability in the world right now. What is disability? Inability to attend your work, to socialize, or that you are in a care facility, people have to care for you. The medical system has to care for you. It's a major crisis. I call it, for this meeting, the elephant in the room. And we'll see that later. For now, I would like to introduce Adri Angati, a wonderful human being who's dare speak about herself in such raw, revealing honesty. Welcome, Adri, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for introducing me, Roland. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I don't know if everybody was here, but I am a business owner here in New York City. And I came to Dr. Roland. I I met Dr. Roland in a conference here in New York City, and I saw him telling people. You know, about what Biosuperfood does. And I was skeptical because, you know, there are so many things out there. But his story was so impressive to me, and not only his story, but the way he was telling, that I thought, you know, that is like, I looked at the bottle. And it's only it's completely plant. It's on just only plant. And so I thought, it's not gonna hurt me. I'm gonna try. So I took 2 capsules that day. So just backtracking a little bit, I'm 56 years old, and I didn't. I've felt many physical conditions and mental conditions that I was not perceiving that I was feeling, and it felt to me that this was, everybody says like, oh, it's the age, and you're, you know, it's natural. And so I thought it was natural. And I tell you, the things that most affected me is, like, for instance, like working on the computer. I felt like I needed to keep twisting my body the whole time because I felt like I needed a massage, because my whole bone structure was aching. But I was never really aware of, I thought, wow, this is part of being old. And the other thing that happened to me is that I would not sleep a whole night. I would wake up 3-4 times a night. I would wake up with negative thoughts, like very negative thoughts about me, about what's happening, about like negative thoughts. And I would have to stay in bed changing my thoughts before I wake up. So as I wake up and as I started moving, this kind of subsided, but I had to work on it, you know. And I like this one, I didn't even think it was nothing. I thought it was a problem that I had, that I shouldn't think of these things, you know. So then the other things that I wrote some things down, headache, I would have migraines in the afternoon. I would have like a lack of focus. I would have lack of desire to commit, like zest, you know, like I knew it, I had it before, and then I didn't have for some time, and I was thinking that this was my age. It was, you know, natural progression. And also I'm 56, so I was going through menopause at the time. And I was starting to feel like some symptoms of menopause. So all of these things were happening to me, but I never thought was nothing. I thought that's fine, that's normal, you know. So when cut back to the fact that I meet Dr. Roland telling about these capsules, and I tried 2 of these capsules. I think we didn't mention, like, I asked Dr. Roland to, like, I wanted to share. I wanted more people to know about this. I woke up the next morning after having taken 2 capsules, and it was so strong for me because the negative thoughts were so strong that the next day I woke up with no thoughts. And it was so strong, that was so different, that was perceivable for me. So I went to the conference next day, and I told Dr. Roland, and I got a bottle for me, because I thought, you know, this was very impressive to me. For me, I don't know how it is for everybody, but for me, I felt it overnight, this change. And with the passing of the time that I was taking, I stopped having body pain. I don't have pain in my body. I don't have pain in my bones, you know. And I stopped with the headaches, and waking up in the morning was like my whole mood changed. And I think that this is a subtle thing that if we are fixed in the idea of the body, we don't realize, you know, the mood is something so fundamental, you know, like without mood, we don't do anything. So, and menopause, I think this is also a big one, because I hear a lot of people having, you know, very strong symptoms. I had no, the only thing I had was a little bit of hot sometimes, some waves of heat. But I was very surprised and humbled, to be quite honest with you. I was humbled with these things. And I wanted my mom, I put my mom on it, many of my friends, because when I talk, it's so, I express what happened to me, you know. So I put my mom on it, and I put a lot of friends of mine are on BioSuperfood. And the thing with my mom is 86, and she was diagnosed with early, not early, but with a little Alzheimer's. And it was not like full blown, but her memory was, and I was devastated because her memory, like we are very close to each other, and we used to have like this long, very profound conversations. And when I heard that her memory was going, you know, for me, it was very, very hard. And I just kept, you know, her on BioSuperfood. My mom today, she lives in a residence, and every time I talk to her, she's very excited and happy and animated. And for a long time, she's been well, you know, she's been, so I was, you know, I was thinking that, you know, I think that, am I missing something? Is like everything's really okay, or am I just not seeing something? Because usually older people have, you know, I was just like very grateful. And one day I received a phone call from the director of the residence where she lives. She called me and I said, is everything okay? She said, everything's fine. She said, I just want to know, do you see what's happening to your mom? And I said, no, I was going to call you because I think everything is so great. She's so happy, you know? And she said, yeah, I wanted to tell you that her memory is improving, you know, and I had perceived it. But, you know, when you think it's like, that's what I'm saying. It's subtle stuff. This mental stuff is subtle, you know? So I thought it was, you know, I'm just perceiving. But the woman called me to say, her memory is getting better. She said she used to come here, and every 5 times, and she would come and say, is my phone charged? Did you take a look at, as like every 5 minutes she would say, she said now she brings her phone to charge, she goes away, an hour later she comes and say, can you check if my phone is already charged? So, and she said, and these are, and little things, Adri, she told me, she said, Adri, don't stop giving these capsules to your mom, because she's taking some other medicines, but I know these capsules are very, very great for her. So I think that having memory back is, I think, unheard of, you know? And so it really, for me, to be quite honest, you know, the reason I was so happy to have a webinar and to share is because my mission, I think my mission in the world is to bring good messages, and be a light for people, you know, whenever I can. And I think that for me it was mandatory that somehow I would share this with people, because I share with Dr. Roland, you know, with Linda, but I didn't, I wanted everybody, more people to know about this, you know, because if I would hear that, I think I didn't know when I tested this. Well, the point is that I wanted to come here and share. And I think one thing that I want to say is that I was very impressed, Dr. Roland, when you started telling me what happens, is because when you told that, for me, was very powerful, because I started understanding how come like suddenly a lot of things get better, you know?
Hmm.
And for me, I never forget, you shared once with me that, or you were sharing with a lot of people, but you know, this stuck to my mind, that the bio superfood acts in the hypothalamus, which I know, you know, I studied it, but I know that it's a gland that controls everything. It controls all the systems. And you said that there is like a membrane, and I knew about this membrane. I didn't know the name, but I know there is a membrane that protects it because it's a very powerful and important gland. But biosuperfood goes there and feeds this gland, and so the whole body receives the benefit. So I think that if I heard that something that a capsule did that, I would be so I don't know about that, you know. So I wanted to come here and share, because I think it's so important that when we have something that is so powerful to us in our lives, you know, like to have conversations with my mom, you know, to be able to have a whole night's sleep. Like if we don't have like a good night's sleep. And also, I think for me, the biggest one was to wake up with no negative thoughts. And I think the negative thoughts are, you know, because I know a few people that have depression, but I never thought I had, but I think I had a little bit, you know, I think I had a little bit. So I wanted to come here and share. I don't know if that translates, you know, but what I liked is to know how this happened, you know, and that's what this, yeah. And Dr. Roland used to, yeah, you like, how do you explain this? This
Well, all right. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and also being so open about yourself. And it's hard to say we have depression. And I could get into it for myself, but I want to say something about the science, a little bit about science, really to capitalize on what you introduced, especially for those that don't know anything about the product. First, I want to say that when you were talking, I remembered that myself, a few weeks, maybe a month, I don't remember, I wrote a testimonial to Dr. Kiriak, to the scientist. I said, biosuperfood has increased my body, my energy, my brain health, my mood, and my spirit. And I took the mood and the spirit completely aside as not important. In reality, health starts in the mood, starts in the spirit. So I had it reversed. I want to start the science with that. And why? Why can such a, you know, a capsule is barely 1/3 of a gram. It takes 3 capsules for a gram. It sits, a little amount of powder sits on the tip of your finger. And it's it's a blend of microscopic algae. It's not just one algae, it's blended in the capsule. There are over 5,000 known naturally occurring, and also, as we like to say, active nutrients. Active nutrient. What is the difference between active and non-active? Non-active might be like a vitamin C as a separate isolate. It only can be active to some extent if all the cofactors in the body are present alongside as companion to take advantage of this little vitamin C that you're taking in surplus. It's not naturally active, while the nutrients in an apple are completely synergistic. They all work together, the enzymes, the protein, whatever is in there, for the best assimilation and utilization of that apple. Well, the biosuperfood is a microscopic food. It has, as I said, for over 5,000 nutrients, which when ingested are not only 100% spread out across your blood system within minutes, traveling your entire body, We'll talk about crossing the blood-brain barrier or the blood-retinal barrier or the spinal fluid barrier. Those are protective membranes, which are really cells, specialized cells that are very tight, and they protect from intoxication or from too much of, for example, vitamin A, which can be toxic for the critical region of the hypothalamus. So the other aspect is that this extraordinary efficiency of this powder is due to the fact that it has all the potential cofactors, and also it has thousands, literally nutrients, minerals that are not even present on the surface of the planet, rare minerals that are no longer available in our food chain. These algae are grown using volcanic thermal springs that this water comes from 2,000 feet below a region, a volcanic region, and it brings up all those extraordinary minerals that our body needs. So I like to do an analogy or compare the hypothalamus to help people understand. I compare it to the director of a philharmonic orchestra, except that our orchestra has trillions of cells, but certainly all the organs in the glands and lymphatic system, all metabolisms are under the supervision of the hypothalamus, which regulates homeostasis. So when you have this director sleeping at the podium, sluggish, the music will be very poor. The drummers will be in the back, maybe smoking marijuana outside of the room. The violinists will be chatting together. The music was not going to be so good. So that's what happened in life with aging, with disease, with shock. We become disharmonized. And even that hypothalamus gland, which is made up of billions of cells, also becomes deficient in certain nutrients, because the ability to feed the hypothalamus directly is not available to us humans, nor to even medicate it. The medical industry has not found any way through pharmaceutical, thank God, to go in there and shift this miracle that is the hypothalamus working in harmony with the pituitary gland and every organ. So when the biosuperfood reaches and crosses there, it's called energy support, you have a cascade of signal that occurs, which occurs all the time anyway. I'm not saying the hypothalamus is dead, but it's not as efficient as it was when you were 17 years old. So a cascade of events, every time you take a little bit of the powder throughout the day, you have this response. Hypothalamus awakens. And I wrote a book called Awakening the Genius Within for you, if you want to look it up. And all the hormones and even central nervous system signals is a go. It travels. I'll give you an example of that I noticed when I started running again because of this product. When I was running younger in my 20s, I would often develop blisters between my toes or under my toe from running long distance, 2 hours and so forth. It's pretty common in that fitness industry. Often runners come with plasters and bandages, or they stop running for weeks sometimes. And when I started after I started taking biosuperfood, I was blessed with being able to run again. That's another story. And I started running heavy duty marathon once. The first year I ran 2, the second year 4. I became a little bit of a marathon addict, and I loved it, and I still do. But what I noticed early on is no blisters, no more blisters. Recovery after the run. I would come, typically after a marathon, you just want a massage, right? Where's the motel room? I want to go to sleep. Well, I felt within half an hour re-energized, feeling well. And I took more capsules on those days, of course. So that's a little bit of the science that I wanted to talk about. The other thing I want to talk about is the elephant in the room. This is really the topic of tonight. And, when I said before that depression is the #1 cause of disability worldwide, Let me start with a story. In 1970, there was this tobacco cancer crisis, and the tobacco companies were not allowed anymore to advertise cigarettes and so forth. And there was a lot of cancer, and tobacco became known as the cause of lung cancer, at least, but today we know that it's the cause of many more. Subsequently came in for those that are a little older, the cholesterol crisis. High cholesterol equated heart attack. And then in the 80s, there were a heart attack, talking in the news, that was the big thing. Followed by, not long afterward, in 95, the breast cancer was really prevalent. It was the discussion, everybody was talking about it, worrying about it. And along with prostate cancer, those are the two top cancer killer. To this day, nothing has changed really besides talking. And lo and behold, if you recall, in the 2000 approximately, we talked about obesity. America became obese. 30% of the population was obese. 60% were overweight. Diabetes was right beside it, and it was the big talk. And we found out that kids now have diabetes. Kids are obese. They're 12 years old, right? This all came like storms, one after the other. Where are we now? Who's talking about those specifically? When did Dr. Fauci say, oh, we have more people dying of a heart attack than COVID, and what should we do about it? You know, so the conversation is mute right now. Came the pandemic, and depression is in the news now. It's a topic. So I just wanted to come like this and say, the elephant in the room is really Alzheimer, which has surpassed diabetes. It's number 5. Number 1 is heart attack. Number 2 is cancer. Number 3 are strokes. Number 5 is upper respiratory diseases and Alzheimer, and then diabetes. So I just want you to look at the chart and think, okay, I've passed the stage. I did not die of a heart attack or a stroke, which is 1 in 2 people possibly, or a cancer or upper respiratory problem. What's next for me? If you haven't died of one of those, the current statistics are that 1 in 3 seniors will die of Alzheimer. And if you don't die, you may suffer of it anyway. You may die of kidney failure, but you may be 10 years with Alzheimer, dementia. This is a horrible disease. My mother suffered from it, my father, my wife's mother, and I know so many people, friends and so forth, and I know people that work in the industry. It's an atrocious disease because you suffer of anxiety, fear, you lose it, and it's pure pain, and your family is in pain with you. And then the medical system is impacted with the cost and having to take care of people that family cannot take care of. It's just really not a nice picture. And I know that many people on this meeting tonight are past 40 years old. I know that I've seen some of the names that I know for 20 years. You know, I met some of you when I was in my 50 or 51. I'm 73 now. So the crisis is that starting about 10 years ago, over 10,000 people a day became seniors. All the baby boomers became senior, and now they're 75, 10 years later. What's happening with these people? The increase of Alzheimer as of 3 years ago was 175% per annum. That's 3 years ago, 2017, or even further than that. We don't even have this year's statistics or last year. It's a rolling tractor. The increase particularly is now seen in age group 55 to 65 at 150%. Age group, I believe 44 to 54 at 300%. And in the age group, listen to this, 30 to 44. At
30 to 44 years old.
480%. So this is being diagnosed, people being diagnosed with onset dementia or future Alzheimer. And there's something even worse than that. And let me just go through a few charts so that you have a visual image of this, and you can take a snapshot if you would wish. If you wish, this will take a minute, because I want you to see that. Oh, I gotta stop. I'll share this one.
Dr. Roland, at some point, I'd love you to share this, what you mentioned about why they divide loss of memory, dementia, and Alzheimer's.
Can you see this chart, which is our picture?
It's coming to the, I think it's coming to the screen. It's the first one, yes.
Okay. So is it full screen?
I think yes.
Okay. Well, let me go through a few charts. First of all, dementia, early onset dementia, and even depression really comes into the picture, is not just a memory loss like many people laugh about. They talk about it. My father, at my age, I see many friends that forget that they told me something the next hour, or they tell me this, they keep repeating the same story over and over. And I've learned from being close to, for example, to my brother-in-law who takes care of Alzheimer, who took care of Alzheimer people, and of his mother, and my wife, and other people, that the last thing you want to do with somebody that's suffering with Alzheimer is tell them that you told me already. You know, so you have to be kind. So one of my friend, a really good friend, is really entering into dementia. And I can't tell him anymore. You told me yesterday. So I just listen to him, and I'm as nice as I can. But 1 in 3 senior will pass from this dreaded disease.
Yeah,
Depression is the number one. Yeah.
I think the slide is still the first one. Maybe.
Okay, it's a little slow to change it.
Well, did you change already?
We won't have many slides.
This is the first slide with the picture of you and I, and what's the problem with a little memory loss?
Oh, it hasn't moved.
No.
Okay. How about that?
There.
Okay.
Yes.
So I just spoke to this one.
Yeah.
This one we heard before. Depression is the number one cause of disability. That's the elephant in the room. That's part of the elephant in the room. In the last 5 years, and this is as of a year or two ago, so it's already ancient. Death from Alzheimer have increased 145. Dementia and Alzheimer diagnosed have increased. I'm repeating what I said, but 373% in the age group 30 to 44, 311% in age group 45 to 54. That's the many people are in that age group, and then in age group 55 to 64. After that, it's worse. It's, you know, entering into the death period. Now, here's what I meant by the elephant in the room is that these were collected, diagnosed. They were statistic collected by health agencies and so forth. But what we also know in the research currently out there is that up to 75% of those with ongoing dementia right now are walking the street and are not diagnosed. Nobody knows about it except their wife or their friends, like my friend around here, one of my friends here, I don't want to name his name. They're not diagnosed, they're not in the system, and it will happen frequently. It happens very suddenly that then they just shift and they're diagnosed and they have to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. Just yesterday, I was having a dinner with a great friend, and his father-in-law passed at 98 years old. He had been a rock star healthy. He was driving still months before. And he was sitting at a table with his wife, and she said, "Oh, well, you're not hungry, you don't eat anymore." And he says, "Oh, I'm not feeling so good." And she said, "You're a little yellow." So they went to the hospital, and he was diagnosed there with jaundice, and which is a liver disease. And he passed. Well, they told him he had a month or something like that, and he went home and passed. But all that, I want to say that he was never tested. He never looked at his liver because he was healthy enough to function. It just came and hit at the moment. This was an exceptional man. At 98, he was still in full health and strong. So, am I trying to scare anyone? Well, yes, because one of the reasons that I have continued to do my practice, my personal discipline, about health is to avoid this dreaded condition. Let's talk about what to do about it. Do I need this chart? For now, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'll bring this chart again so you can take a picture. But these are very, I would say, very normal decision that you should take. But in essence, in America right now, over 60% of the population in America and the United States have chronic condition and are taking on average 3 pharmaceutical medication per day. And I've known many that are on 10 medication. Plus, I've had clients come to my office with a box of supplements. They have a spreadsheet for the drugs, the pharmaceutical, which day, how many to take, and the supplement below it. And I say to them, "Well, how long have you been doing this?" "Oh, 10 years, 5 years. So, well, my symptoms are still there, but I've been told that I should take vitamin X and B and C." A quick reminder that this 98-year-old man never took any supplement. My mother never took any supplement. She lived to be 91, and she was not a health fanatic like me. So the supplement industry has captured people's mind, as well as a lot of people wait to be sick for a doctor to save them. So I invite you to consider to move to a nutritious, proper diet of lots of plants and fruits and vegetables, reducing the meat and dairy as you get older. There's no need for that. Did I stop sharing? Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
Number one factor in Alzheimer, number 1 and 2, and they're kind of overstepping on one another, is being overweight in middle age and further, or obese, of course. Number one factor that leads to Alzheimer, as well as tobacco smoking, of course. Alcohol is a factor. Now, if you combine all those factors, it gets worse. Fast food, junk food are not going to help you to avoid Alzheimer. Fasting, I've been fasting for decades, but lately I practice intermittent fasting, which I eat only for a period of 6 hours a day, and then I fast until the next day. And I find it extraordinary because you can feel your body eliminate what's in there before putting more in it, and the energy is restored, and you lose a little bit of weight. By the way, it's very supportive of losing the weight that is extra. Sleeping and resting, I never thought that as I would age that I would follow that practice. As a yogi for many years, for decades, I used to sleep 4 hours a day, 4 or 5 hours a day, and I would do yoga in the morning to combat my depression. That's another story. And I didn't think I would need so much sleep, but I realize now at my age that it's a big factor in my energy restoration. So as you get older, resting, sleeping is very important, respecting your body's energy. Exercise, I could repeat it over and over. It's a must. Qigong, energy restoration, energy calibration. Yoga, Qigong is wonderful because you don't even need a mattress. You can do it standing. in your regular clothing. You can do it in your bathroom or traveling. I've really become a fanatic or a fan of Qigong. Look it up. I'm a runner. Jogging is wonderful. Cardio, cognitive and social activity. Get out there, join some clubs, some membership, some walking clubs, family, friends, playing cards, dancing, learning languages. That's phenomenal. We are talking here about plasticity. The brain is a muscle, just like your buttock. It can flatten and lose its good health, and so you want to exercise the brain. I have a daughter who's a neurologist. She's at Harvard, and she's working on brain restoration and plasticity through music and so forth. So language, hobbies, exercise that brain of yours. And I'm going to put that chart up so that you can take a picture, but it's nothing that's nothing too difficult to remember. Just take a snapshot if you wish. I'm going to go to full screen. Can you see the chart, Adri?
Yes.
Okay. So hopefully that gives you time. That was it on my suggestion on recommendation and recovery, because if you're already engaged, advanced to some degree, like Adri was, maybe, or me, it's possible to restore your brain energy, brain speed, memory recall, dream recall, remembering telephone number, right? When we're young, we can do that. So that you can do a lot of regeneration and recovery, support the body in doing that with all of these good advice here.
Dr. Roland, I remember, I just wanted to say this. I remember that when I first saw you telling the story, you were actually telling the story of Dr. Kiriak, which was who created Biosuperfood.
Yes.
And I was so impressed with his story, and everybody was impressed with the story, that because he was the man of the year in Russia.
Yeah,
and I was so impressed that he was sponsored by the government to find natural solutions for problem, for diseases.
yes.
And then I asked you, and I want to ask you again, how you met him, because that is a story that I had not heard, like how you met him, your story, because his story is incredible. But your story really brought tears to my eyes many times, because I think it's a hard story.
Yeah, I tend to forget because I'm so good, I'm so well, from where I was. Yeah, Dr. Kiriak, I wrote that in many places, or I say it still to this day, should be a candidate for Nobel Prize, if anyone is, by the way. What he has come up with and demonstrated undeniably in the largest ever natural study on using microalgae with millions of animals involved, scientifically demonstrated and proven. Has never been done since and will likely never be done. It was a massive, massive project. And he had assistance from the government, the Academy of Science, the Ministry of Agriculture. And it's a rare thing. For example, when Kennedy said, let's go to the moon, when a country gets behind a project, it can happen. But it never happens in America that the government gets behind natural solution, or they wait for pharmaceutical to come up with something new every year. It's really a business. America is a business. But at the time, yeah, communist Russia, but Dr. Kiriak will tell you he had participation from every university. He could control so many people and scientists to help him during that project, because the government was concerned about decline in the productivity in the animal and nutrition industry, particularly in the livestock industry. And they threw everything at him. It was a secret project. And it became a very important project. But then after Chernobyl, everything fell apart. The budget left, and Mr. Putin is not big on natural health. So he moved to Canada. So that's his story and more. I wrote a book about it, Awakening the Genius Within.com. But as far as me, I met him by blessing. My wife, Linda, was with us. Her brother introduced me to Dr. Kiriak when he was looking for some sort of investor and support in the US. At the time, I lived in Denver, Colorado, and I met him on my way to retire in Canada. I was tired, I was fatigued. I'll tell you about that. And we met for investment reason, but he shared with me a story in a curriculum vitae mode. You know, he wasn't a bragger, he's a scientist, and it was what he's done. And I was very impressed, but at the time, we didn't even talk about trying it. He was looking for an investor to put capital to help him restructure this company in America, in Canada. So I left, but then I came back the next year in December, ready to move. And I met with him and at his place, and we talked. I brought all my supplement, which were 23 different bottles, or I listed them to him. I did not actually bring him them physically. And he said to me, "You're very smart, Roland, but try this." And he gave me a small bottle of Formula 2 equivalent of the formula. And I left, and I'll go back now to where I was. Why was I taking 23 different bottles of supplement? I could show you a picture. I have them here in the bag. I'm keeping them for a museum for my grandchildren. Here's what your granddaddy was doing in the 80s and the 90s. So really what I want to talk to today is a bit more about my history. My history, my family is a very disorganized family. There was a lot of bipolar. My dad was an extreme bipolar and alcoholic, and he quit, God, thank you God, at 40 years of age. He also quit smoking. And my mom had been drinking alongside him, not as much. And so we have a history of that in our family. I was the last of 12 children born in her bedroom at home, which was the norm in those days. And everybody was smoking in the room, the doctor, my mom, and her sister. And so I had been smoking in her womb for 8 months or 9 months, right? And I was born in a smoking family with siblings smoking. But our education was rather poor, so we had a lot of trauma in our youth. My dad was a bush pilot and he was gone. And it led to my lifestyle. As a teenager, I became a hippie and I did some substance. And I think I was dealing from my insecurity deep inside with substance, whether it be alcohol or marijuana or something else, really. For a few years, I did that, and I came out of it, thank God. But I came out of it with yoga to compensate for my depression. Every day I would do yoga. I became a maniac. Literally, I'd get up at 4 a.m. to do an hour and a half of yoga and meditation of sort. And then I would look at the day with happiness. I was charged. But I couldn't think of leaving the house without doing my yoga. And that went on for a long time. And also I joined the high-tech industry, and I became a very productive manager and businessman. And then I moved to the US to join some startup in the dot-com era of the 1998, etc. And it was a difficult time, very stressful. We had some failures and some success. But alongside that, I started eating on the road, traveling with friends, drinking a little bit. I became obese, a bit overweight, and frankly, would be considered obese. Body mass wise, I was 40 pounds overweight, but it didn't show that much. And then I also had ripped a cartilage at my knee. So I had stopped running or attempting to do physical activity. I became a bit of a couch potato. I was diagnosed finally with what is called syndrome X, which is a high cholesterol, low blood pressure, pre-diabetic. Plus, I had had a subluxation at my lower back, L5 sacrum area, and I was really disabled and with chronic pain. Frequently, like you, I couldn't sit for more than an hour. I couldn't drive for more than 15 minutes. It was really an unpleasant phase of my life, and I had to continue to. I kept trying to do the yoga, so I would compensate with alcohol, really, and food, and so the supplements, I started to take supplements in 1980 after a doctor told me to take vitamin E because it was good for the cartilage for my knee, or it may prevent heart attack in the future and so forth. So gradually, in those days, there was no Google, there was no Yahoo. So you learn things in magazine. You go to the health food store, I should take ginkgo golqua. Oh, I should take this supplement because it's good for my prostate. This one is good for not getting a cold. This one is a multi-mineral, multivitamin, alpha lipoic, name it, I had them. Resveratrol. And you could see the supplement industry come after 1980, they came into the industry like this. From no supplement, barely vitamin C and multi-minerals to today, there's thousands of offerings. I don't want to ever go back there. I said earlier that I had clients come to my office with 30 bottles that they were locked in, that they thought they had to take every day. And many today are still clients of mine and are free from that jail, of supplement.
You mentioned once that you couldn't carry heavy things, and that
the back problem. I couldn't lift my daughters when they were young girls, and do what fathers do. And I couldn't help my wife moving boxes when we moved from one place to another. And I was condemned. I thought, this is it. This is my life. There was no hope really. And then I met Dr. Kiriak. I'm going to do this quick now. I met Dr. Kiriak, and like you, I took a couple of capsules, and that night I was having dinner with two of my sister at an Italian restaurant in Montreal. I was on a trip hunting for a home, and usually after a glass of wine or two, I'd be looking for the hotel room to go to sleep. And that night came 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock, we were chatting, and I was in a good mood like you talked about. And I went to bed and I woke up. It was like the light came. It was like a light turned on. I left with 40 bottles. Right away, I went to Dr. Kiriak.
I didn't know that.
He had flirted with me. He said, Roland, maybe you can stay in the US and help me. I need help there. I don't speak English and so forth. And my English was not as good as it is today, even though I'm still working on it. In those days, yeah. So, and I kept taking, and over the days, over the week, I realized I was sitting all day long. As a matter of fact, I started to do very long day. I was so passionate. I built my own website. I knocked on doors. I went to a local health conference. I met some of our first clients and resellers, some of which are with us tonight. But I felt so good. So, even though physically I was feeling better, I was able to start jogging and eventually running. And then I ran a first half marathon and a full marathon. But all the cholesterol, all those issues disappeared, and all the supplements disappeared. I got rid of the supplement in a matter of weeks. But I never thought that also I didn't need to do yoga anymore. Yeah, I became addicted to running, but it was for a different reason. But I woke up in the morning refreshed, happy, energized, full passion, full blast. So that nagging daily bipolar issue, I had a tendency also to have bipolar episode semi-annually, with burnouts, because I would be too excited, work, and burn out. This has disappeared from my life. So we're talking about, and I could talk to you about memory. I remember the first few years, I was bragging, oh, I remember phone numbers now. Credit card, I mean, it's like, wow, or part of it. Something that I used to play with when I was 18, memorizing, 100 numbers after pi, 3.14, 16, 15, 95. We had games, when you're young. So memory came back, dream recall comes back. So I wanted to share that. Thank you for asking, because I want to get people excited about trying this product, this formula. And maybe what I'd like to do now for many people that don't know is show the three formulas. We have three formulas. I'll show a picture if that's okay. And then we'll pass on to questions.
Okay.
I've also changed the chat so that people could only chat with panelists. Why? Because there was some very negative chats happening. Some people came from, I don't know where, talking about very rudely. So they can still chat rudely to me and you, because we have big bones. We don't have back problem. But that was very,
That's good.
very rude. I think next time when I do a webinar, I will ask people to, share more about who they are if they want to join. But let me share my screen, and then we'll.
How many supplements you have today?
Today, I only take one.
Oh,
From,
that's
yeah?
not even a supplement.
It's not even a sub. Thank you for saying it's
No,
a
I don't
food.
think it, to me, this is not a supplement.
Can you see the chart?
Yeah.
Okay, it's called bio superfood, and bio is for organic. It's a translation from French, biologique. Super, the word says super, and food. So it is a food, it's a superfood, and it's also beyond organic. I mean, I say to people, it makes you become more organic if you consume it, because it helps you to regenerate at the cellular level and so forth. We have three formula targeted for, we want to address children and infants with the Gentle Formula 1, which, by the way, is excellent as well as a base formula for anyone, but also for fragile conditions like early pregnancy, blood pressure, advanced Alzheimer, because you don't want to rock the boat at that level. The Formula 2 is that we call it core, which is the center. It's a good for teen children as well, and teen and adult, premenopausal, early, before things become chronic and diagnosed, to help regenerate phenomenal immunity protection and faster immunity protection than Formula 1. I have to say that. And Formula 3 is our Lamborghini. I know we have the Formula 1. I call it the wonderful BMW, and then we have a Lamborghini and a Maserati. Why use this analogy? It's just subliminal, I think. I never want to put down Formula 1 or Formula 2. The color here indicates the presence of more red algae from 1 to 2 to 3, which is the reason that there is more energy transfer and more crossing of those wonderful blood-brain barrier. So Formula 3 is more rapid acting and more intense, though all of the formulas can be mitigated by how many capsules you take and how frequently you take it. So we have wonderful guidelines available online, or we can email them to you, which will help you make your choice if you're new and if you'd like to try them. I want to say thank you very, very much. There's a website there at the bottom. You can take a picture at bioage.com. It's pretty easy to remember, and you can find the guidelines there. I'll come back to us here. And
yeah, I think there were some questions. I think there were some questions. I want to say that I saw a question earlier that which one I take. I take F3. And I think somebody said in the chat, like, I think you take F3. I take F3. Yeah. My mom also takes F3.
Yeah. Generally when you come in the middle age, you don't want to, if you can afford it, if it's a matter of even if it's a matter of money. I know our products are not cheap, but they should be worth 10 times more.
You know what
every time
sorry, go
Dr.
ahead.
Someone asks him, well, that's very expensive. I said, well, if you want to really know the price, it's going to be $1,000 now, because the research that was done and that one product can replace all your supplements potentially. I don't want to be the sanctity on that, but I've done it and many clients have done it. So Formula 3 is really geared for middle age. If we don't have those blood pressure issue or advanced Alzheimer, it's where to start. Please, because think about regeneration and repairing the already engaged imbalances in your body. Whether you like it or not, you are no longer 17 years old that can eat a pizza and drink 4 Coca-Cola and burp and not have a headache. You can't do that at our age because our overall energy has shifted, has declined maybe, but you want to restore that, and the Formula 3 is the best Lamborghini, the best Maserati Lamborghini to get there.
Yes, and I wanted to say, Robin is asking how many I take, and I started taking 2, and then Dr. Roland slowly, like, he guided me to start, a few days later, add another one, and a few days later. So for many years now, I have been on F3 and I take 6 a day. But sometimes I have to, I have to work until late and wake up early, or if I'm not feeling so well, I take a little more. Or a little less. I think it's very, but I think around 6 for me is the best.
Yeah, it's well put, because when we guide you to start, we have guidelines, but after a while you become the master of your own destiny. It's like we lend you a puppy, and after a few weeks you don't want to give it up, and you know how to take care of the puppy. I used in the beginning, because I thought I was so off base in my health, I took 12 a day. I didn't start with 12, but I kept that on for quite a while. Then I realized I don't need to take that many. And over the years, I take now between 6, 8, and 10 sometimes. If I have to run a long run, I will take 12 or 20 if I need to, because it's about prevention of injury, inflammation, metabolism, recovery during the run. A long distance runner, we kill a pancreatic cell, we kill liver cell. It's a very demanding, abnormal activity to run 4 hours. So it's very supportive of that kind of performance. And also for workaholic, people that are CEO of companies that need to work sometimes the weekend and so forth. So it's very supportive of long hours, of sometimes poor diet for a while. Yeah.
And I'm reading, there are some questions here. I just realized there are, wait.
You take too late, for example.
Yeah.
I'll answer that one. Yeah, in the beginning, you don't want to take them late. You want to no longer than 6 p.m. or 4, but gradually your body's overall metabolism adapts to this new level of frequency.
That's where I am.
You recalibrate your entire frequency with this product.
I'm so happy you said that, because that's exactly what I feel.
Me too.
I never thought of that. No, I never thought of like the frequency. I think the frequency of everything, like maybe the frequency of the whole body, which that's what affects the subtle around, which is like focus and determination and mood and excitement. I never thought of frequencies. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
That's what nutrition is about. It's about energy. Yeah. It raises it recalibrates your balance, not only at the organ and gland level, but at the cellular level. And then we're talking polarity. If you look under a microscope at like blood, you will see that after 20 minutes of taking 2 capsules of F3, your blood shifts from lazy, from many cells are stick together or agglutinated. They don't travel well, to boom, they become round and all separate and they're moving. So that's frequency and polarity. Positive polarity pushes the other cells away, because negative, they stick together and they're lazy. So it's about polarity. It's about electricity. We're electrical being in the end.
So I have a couple more questions. Just to answer this one question is like, for me, it doesn't matter if I take later. Today, it doesn't matter. I just sleep. I sleep really well, my God.
Yeah.
And there was another question before, Dr. Roland. Oh my God, where is the question? How much F2 and F3 do you recommend to mitigate cognitive loss?
Mm-hmm. Well, it would have to know your age and if you have other conditions like blood pressure, but generally you start with 1 capsule per day, and every 2 or 3 days you would add 1, and you want to ramp up over a period of a week or 2 to 6 a day, and stay there for a week and see the shift, understand the shift. I mean, you might have a revelation overnight, but take it to 6, and then if you have pretty long lasting chronic condition or more severe than what we're just talking about here, then we can talk about 8 a day or 10 or 12. And typically the best way to take them is 1 at a time, even if it's half a capsule, by the way, even a third of a capsule, if you could have the discipline of taking it hourly, because you keep waking up that genius inside of you, that conductor, that hypothalamus, which tends to dip down again, because it's often the hypothalamus has become sluggish after decades of negative feedback. So you don't want to let go. You want to keep waking up the hypothalamus, even if it's a small count. Let me add one thing that's so interesting. Dr. Kiriak thinks about it all the time, but I forget. That amount of powder on the tip of a finger can impact tangibly, scientifically measurable, the metabolism of an elephant in the matter of minutes, or of a horse, or of a dairy cow, or of a beef. So it is not about stomach food. It is not enough energy for the body, but it triggers the awakening of the body's ability to acquire nutrients and energy from its food, and as well as from already the food that is in the body. We, as you know, we have months of available nutrients in our body. We could live for weeks without food. I don't recommend that. So it triggers the ability of the body to use existing nutrients in the body more efficiently, and also break down the new nutrients from your food more efficiently, and utilize them more efficiently, and get rid of the debris more efficiently.
Awesome.
Roland?
I have 2 questions. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, this is Linda. I was just wondering if you had a chance to see Russell's question.
Yeah, I
He
was gonna
wants-
read Russell's questions now.
Okay, go ahead.
Roland, would you please mention biosuperfood benefits, the brain benefits to the brain versus isolated supplements? Wait, nutrient can cross the blood-brain barrier. Number 2, abundant oxidants and essential fatty acids, omega oils. And number 3, complete and balanced nutrition for pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus glands.
Yeah. So that is not a question. That is a recommendation by Russell. I'll still try to back you up, Russell. But Russell has been one of the first reseller that I met in Denver, Colorado, in 2001, I believe. and he's the largest reseller of our animal version, the bio preparation. And he also sells the bio superfood since then, and he knows a lot, and he would have a lot to share about mental health and other conditions. But to his point, I know sometimes I speak quickly, but yeah, there are every nutrients that you can dream of in this small capsule. Many of all of the essential fatty acid, all of the amino acid, which is a complete human available protein, extraordinary calcium, spirulina. It's called calcium spirulina, which is much more efficient. It's a calcium that is not a building bones and so forth. It's a calcium that's utilized in the energy in the mitochondria for generating ATP energy. So all the component, the enzymes, thousands of enzymes present, all the vitamin A, B, C, D, C, K, name them, all the B complex are there. It's a miracle product. I have no doubt about it. When I say Dr. Keriak should be nominated for Nobel Prize, I mean it. I've done research in algae for decades now, and nothing comes close to this blend, which is a unique proportion blend. And it's a concept of the whole is bigger, or whatever the expression is. The whole is bigger than the parts. It's a synergistic, balanced, complete, beyond expectation of the human body. It's a surprise. It's like a, it's like a delicacy of never you could dream of finding it in going around the world and bringing in all the salads that you want. You cannot match one capsule with one meal. So it's a different approach than your regular stomach food. This is a complement. It's not a supplement. I call it a complement to your regimen, to your diet, because of its value added. Besides being nutritive itself, it's the fact that the value added is the resulting benefit of the hypothalamus waking up several times throughout the day.
I know. I think it's amazing that you mentioned this, because I was thinking, man, I should, because, I take 2 and then I take 2 sometimes, and then sometimes I take 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. But I think that it's great perhaps to just put my timer, like every hour during the time that I'm, Oh, and there is a question from Joanna. Does it matter? We have to finish the questions. Does it matter if you take with food or empty stomach?
My recommendation is half hour prior or after, in between meals, though you can take it with a smoothie. There's nothing wrong. You'll still benefit. But personally, I love to think to visualize when I take a capsule that it dissipates in a cloud of millions of particles. If you go to the molecular level, travels the entire bloodstream and becomes available to every cell in your body in a gentle, nutritive fashion. And I don't want to mix that with mashed potatoes, and ketchup. It's an insult. So I like to take it purely, and then I eat. But I take the stomach food after. This is brain food.
That's brain food. That's a really good way to finish, because we have to end, right? We have
yes, it's going to be 9 o'clock soon, so I'm okay with going to 9. But
somebody asked about the recording.
The recording will be you'll be announced via email that it's available. I will send you the link to all participants, or you can request it if you didn't receive it. It will be available within a day or 2. Give us a break, a chance to prepare it.
And then Kenton
KJ.
Yeah, he said he or
Oh
she.
yeah.
I like the concept bio superfood is the grout that fills all the missing parts in your diet. But I think it's more.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions, and I invite you to send them by email.
Okay, good.
Or put them in the chat right now and leave us your email because we could be here a long time. I'll have to take a couple of capsule here. It was wonderful to hear your story, Adri, and
Thank
I
you.
know you were borderline to cry. I know you cried with me many times about that.
Sometimes, yeah. For me, it was very great to be able to share this because, as I said, I think that it's important when we find something that is this powerful and this vital, this life-giving.
Life-giving.
I think it's a crime not to share, you know. So I share with my friends, but you know, your idea of me sharing made me very happy.
You know, Adri, a long time ago, you told me, you said, this is like adding life to my life. And you know, I've got it now as part of my marketing material. Add life to your life.
I think
Like
that it is.
using your line, or add years to your life is cool, but add life to your life every day, every moment of your day. You have more life and you'll live longer as well. That's my plan. You know,
Yeah.
my dad passed at 83 of Alzheimer, advanced severe Alzheimer. He had a bypass done by the age 60. He was unable to play sport. He had breathing problem, emphysema. He died eventually of a stroke, emphysema related. And I saw him, and I did not want that for myself. And imagine when I was 50 with all these problems, that's all I would think about. I'm going to die like my father. You don't have to believe that. And I'm blessed today to be 73, no diagnosis, no medication. I'm going to run another marathon soon. I'm in vibrant health. You know, I play golf with friends, and I also I play pool in a pool club here. I like to play billiard, and I see people around me. You know, I'm usually the oldest in the room. It's a strange phenomenon to get older, and yet they all have complaints. They all are limping or medication and drugs, and they had COVID 5 times. And I'm so blessed to have met Dr. Kiriak and to be able to take these little green capsules for staying in shape.
And
So
I
I am grateful, and I want people to know, and I want to share that with people.
Yes, I feel the same. And I'm thanking everybody in the chat because it makes me feel like I'm paying it forward.
BSF is the grout that fills in all the missing part of your diet. That is so well put. Somebody said that. The concept biosuperfood is the grout that fills all the missing parts in your diet. That is very true. That is very true, because often we eat certain food and they're not complete enough for the body to use right now. So they're like the amino acid. So the body waits for another meal later, and so on and so forth. So this brings the cofactor required for taking advantage of more of the nutrients that are already sort of parked on the parking lot in your body, in your liver particularly. Very nice.
There is a few more questions. Would you like to answer, or would you like to ask them to ask you?
Well, we have 5 more minutes. I'd be happy to take another question. Where we can view the recording, we talked about that. I only see one person asking, where is the diabetes? We used to have a diabetes suggestion for diabetes. Well, this, you know, medical condition, we don't want to openly speak about medical condition because of FDA regulation. We are a very good citizen. We want to stay available for decades. We don't want to be shut down for misbehaving. So we are in a natural business. Our food is a support to your body's ability, innate ability to prevent and heal and regenerate and recover. We are not a medicine or a drug. We're simply extraordinary efficient food. Any chance you can grow in the USA? That's a good question. You know, our product is grown using these extraordinary location in Russia and in Kamchatka. Look it up. It's a volcanic region, the most active volcanic region on Earth. And there you cannot match those nutrients at 2,000 feet below. And whether it's in Lake Clemete or Hawaii or India or Australia, you cannot find those rare trace elements and mineral, which is the discovery of Dr. Kiriak, the discovery of the ability to know how to use those. And it came to him, I wouldn't say by chance, but they first started bioreactor in Ukraine or near Ukraine. They were using local water and they would fertilize the water to get the algae, what the algae needed. And then he was moved to a project in Siberia or Kamchatka for the mink industry of Russia, which was the fur industry, which was very big in the 60s and the 70s and 80s. Khrushchev has this big hat, you know, with mink. So those animals were affected with many cancer, and it was an epidemic, and they were losing their health. And when they went up there, there was no way they could use tap water really in. And they saw, you know, they realized they had these geyser, you know, this thermal spring. And they built a small reactor there besides one of those. And they would just use that water, hot water, already 112 degree, right into the small container of the bioreactors. They were experimenting and so forth. And eureka. They realized the results were dramatically, significantly more vibrant, more organic, and more powerful algae. You know, the example I can give you is if you grow a tomato in a raunchy area, you get a brown tomato, and you're lucky if it tastes good, it's maybe depleted of nutrient. But if you grow a tomato in Pennsylvania in an organic setting, you can get a really bright, beautiful tomato, or same thing with a pumpkin. But on the microscopic stage, these little algae are invisible to the naked eye. But the same difference in results, if they're well nourished, if they're fed what they need, not artificially. Like, for example, the lagoons in Hawaii. They throw in fertilizer or nutrients that are missing in the lagoon. And the spirulina of Hawaii or California or India or Taiwan, or yet they're all over now, they don't have that same vibrancy, that same power. I'm sorry to say that. They're good. Don't, you know, I'm not saying don't put them down. They're better than many food on our shelf. But it's a different concept. Biosuperfood is not, it's a food, but it's not about taking a tablespoon of it. Small amount, regularly, will do it. It's 9 o'clock. I would love to speak more, but we'll adjourn. If you've sent us some message in the chat, we'll download the chat. The recording will be available. And I thank you so much, everyone. Linda and Adri. And have a good night.
Yay. Thank you so much, Dr. Roland.
It's
Thank you so much,
too bad we
Linda.
don't have the meeting concept where people can say thank you, and we see all the people. So maybe next time we'll do a meeting.
Yeah, maybe next time.
All right. Good
All
night.
right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.